Hey guys, it's Kip here from KDC Marketing, and in today's video, I want to show you the main differences between Classic Editor and Wix Studio so that you can pick the right platform for you. And I'm going to do this through the lens of Wix Studio because there's more differences here than in the Classic Editor. So the first thing that you'll notice that's different inside of Wix Studio are these breakpoints. When you are in the Classic Editor, you only have two. You have desktop and mobile, and you can't customize their size or any of these types of things. You can only toggle back and forth between desktop and mobile. So in Wix Studio, you can customize these, you can add more breakpoints, and you at least get these three out of the box. And that's one of the fastest ways to tell that you are inside of Wix Studio rather than the Wix Editor. If you look at this site, which is a Classic Editor website, then you can tell the difference. The whole interface looks different, but the biggest thing you want to look for is the breakpoints here. So this is Classic Editor. You have two breakpoints. You have desktop and you have mobile, and you can't customize them. You can only switch between them by clicking on them. And then of course it changes your editor here, but you're a lot more limited than you are inside of Wix Studio. And when you're inside of Wix Studio, of course, you can click between these different breakpoints, but you also get this additional drag to resize so you can see how it looks across all the different devices, and it will update in real time up here to the editing size that you are currently seeing on your screen. The next thing that I want to highlight is stacks. So you have these stacks in here inside of Wix Studio. I just went to the add elements and I can add this stack. And what a stack is it's grouping together different elements in one group, but then you can size them and use the stack to lay out your elements. So I have a text element here. I have another text element and a button. And if I open up my layers panel, you'll see it here on the left-hand side. And so once it's in a stack inside of Wix Studio, I can space these items out. So I can add 20 pixels. I can align the items together. I can change it from vertical to horizontal. So you have a lot of different options, and you can always add more to your stack. So if I wanted to add an image to my stack, all I have to do is drag it here and it will be part of the stack. And then I can justify my stack to fit all the elements. So there's lots of different things you can do with stacks inside of Wix Studio to lay out your tools a lot faster. When it comes to the Wix Editor, it's a lot harder to group elements together, and you don't have as many tools to lay things out. So I'm going to try to build a stack real fast. So I'm just going to drag and drop my heading. I'm going to go and get a paragraph text here, and then I'm going to get a button, and then I will try to group these together. And you have a few options. You can group elements together here. So if you hold shift and you click all of them, you can group the elements, but you can't change their layout or the spacing between them or anything like that. So if you ungroup the elements, then you can get this layout here where you can distribute the elements vertically. So you can kind of space them out and you can align them to the center. There's a couple things you can do, but it is definitely a lot more limited than what you can do with stacks inside of Wix Studio. The next thing that I want to show you that is a big difference between the two is responsive AI. So this has to be done at the section level inside of Wix Studio, but as long as I have my section selected, I get this button. And if I click it, it's going to start to create a responsive design on all the devices automatically. So you can see it's going to work here to put together my stack in the best layout on tablet and mobile. And it gets it right, I would say 80% of the time. There's still a lot of the time you have to go in and make the changes after the fact, but a lot of times it gets it right out of the box. And since this is a simple layout, and once I click Apply Design, then you can see that this is looking pretty good on mobile. Whereas in the classic Wix editor, there is no responsive design at all. So when I click on the section, I don't get a responsive design. And if I want to go in and update my section, I just have to go to the mobile side and start messing with it and trying to get it to lay out how I want it. And of course, there's some options here to edit things, but you have to start from scratch. The next thing that we should talk about is you get a lot more customization inside of Wix Studio than you do in the Wix editor. So I've already showed a few of the things with the panels here inside of Wix Studio. You have this elements panel, you have all this stuff on the left-hand side, but the main difference is the right-hand side where you have the design panel. And so you have full customization over all of your sections, elements, and everything. So you can add padding, you can add margins, you can change the responsive behaviors, and for each element, things change. So when I go into my heading element, I'm going to have different things in my design panel, but you have a lot of features here, and there's all these things here at the top as well. So this one has margins because text elements have margins, but you can do all kinds of things in this design panel, a lot more than what you can do in the Wix editor. And it can seem overwhelming for people, but for someone like me, I really appreciate having all of these extra options. Whereas inside of the classic editor over here, you just don't have as many options to customize things. You can click on elements and you can, edit text here. You have some tools. You have a toolbar for your alignment, but it's this little skinny bar right here. So it's a lot more limited. And depending on what element you have, again, it changes. So you might be able to change the design, but it's a lot different and it's a lot more limited here than it is inside of Wix Studio. The next thing to point out is that Wix Studio has robust animations and scroll effects, and this website is a good example. So as I scroll here, you're going to see some cool effects happening, and you can do a lot of really interesting and cool scroll effects and other effects too. Not just the scroll effects, but this is where Wix Studio really shines. And if you want something like this, where there's a bunch of things going on, then you definitely want to use Wix Studio. You can still do some animations inside of Classic Editor, but you can see that even these are moving on the screen. You have all kinds of animations happening here. The text is blurry and then it shows up. Things are spinning. So Wix Studio definitely shines more here than the classic editor. And the place that you would find those inside of Wix Studio is you click on these animations and effects, and depending on what you're editing, what element, then you get different effects. So as soon as I click my stack, I have more options here, and you can click into different sections and edit them. Inside of the Wix editor, you still have some options, and it will show up in this icon. So you would click on animations and effects, but as this opens, you can see this is what it looks like. And you still have some animations in here to work with, just not as many as Wix Studio. Wix Studio also has some integrations for animations, and you can connect it to Lottie and Rive, and you can get even more animations that way. I don't know if Classic Editor has these, but I don't think they do. I think it's just Wix Studio. One thing to note here is that there are a lot of differences between the Classic Editor and Wix Studio, but there are a lot of things that make them the same. And one of those things is the dashboard. So this is the back end, and this is pretty much the same across the board. There are a few slight differences, but one of the ways you can know that your website is built on Wix Studio is down here in the bottom left. And that will be a sign that you are on that editor. Whereas if you're in the classic editor, you won't see that built on Wix Studio, but you have a lot of the same dashboard options and customizations here, no matter which platform you're on. I have this Wix Studio here because my workspace is Wix Studio, so I always see this, but the built-in Wix Studio will show up down here or won't, depending on which platform you're on. Those are some of the main differences between Classic Wix and Wix Studio, and I failed to mention one, which is that Wix Studio also allows for real-time collaboration with other team members, whereas Classic Wix does not. So if you have yourself and you want another team member in your Classic Wix website to be editing together, you can't do that. It'll kick one of you out and only let one of you in at a time. Whereas Wix Studio, you can have multiple team members in the same site collaborating in real time, changing things and updating things. So I'll have to show that in a future video. But if you are wanting to pick the platform that's right for you, what I would say is that Classic Editor is still a good platform. It can be a good platform. It's a bit more basic and limited, but it can still be very effective, especially if you're not someone who wants to deal with the technical design side of Wix Studio and doesn't want to have to mess with all of that. If you want more customization for your website and you want full control over the spacing and layout and responsive behaviors and responsive design, then Wix Studio is going to be the better option. And you can always change between the two. So if you want to upgrade your site from Classic Editor to Wix Studio, there's a process for that. It's not necessarily the cleanest process, but it's something that I help people do all the time. So if you want help to upgrade your website from one editor to the other, I can help you do that. Or if you want help just to optimize your existing Wix website, whether it's in Classic Editor and Wix Studio, I also help people do those things as well. So hopefully this video has been helpful in comparing the two editors so that you can see the differences and make the right choice for you, because it's not really the platform that matters. It's how well you manage the platform and how well you use the platform that will lead to your success. So that's what I have for today's video, and I will see you in the next video.